Welcome everybody to beautiful New Brunswick. My girlfriend and I decided to do a last-minute trip, 11-hour drive from where we are in Quebec to make it here along the Bay of Fundy for a very interesting time of the year. Shorebird migration has just begun, so there's a lot of flocks that are starting to form and make their way through eastern Canada, and we're right at the beginning of it. I've never really stopped here to take photos. I've only ever really driven through. So to actually be here along the coast, New Brunswick is super interesting because I think they have the highest tides in the world. I think it goes about 15 meters from high tide to low tide. When the tide is high, what the shorebirds do is usually collect along the shore and just rest up. And then as the tide goes out and all these intertidal species start revealing themselves, that's when the shorebirds move out and start feeding a lot more readily.
We spent 2 days here watching the beginning of the shorebird migration, and I was excited to see only a few thousand shorebirds, but had I waited a week or so, I may have been lucky enough to see them moving through in the tens of thousands. Over a 2-day span, we got hit with a mixed bag of weather, but my favorite day was one rainy, foggy morning.
Alright, so I'm on the beach. Sorry for the wind, by the way. I don't know if this is brutal or not. If it is, I'll just voice this over. But what my strategy is for these guys, peregrine falcon. That's a freaking peregrine falcon hunting these shorebirds, which sends them every which way around the beach. So anyways, that's not what my strategy is. I don't want to chase them like a peregrine falcon. That's crazy. Now I'm gonna have to shift myself. But what my strategy is to basically start far out and army crawl my way out to them. And the reason for that is that these shorebirds are migrating through, so they don't really have an affinity to a certain area. It's not like they're nesting on these beaches, they're just passing through. So if I were to just try to walk up to them or fly up to them and try to kill one of them, they would just take off and fly further down the beach, and then it would just become a chasing match at that point, which you obviously don't want. You don't want these migrating birds to lose energy because you're chasing them down the beach. So this is pretty much the most efficient way I know of, because once you get down low with shorebirds, it seems like they're pretty much comfortable with you for the most part. And maybe that's because they think you're just a large piece of driftwood. I don't really know what the science is behind it. Some of you know, let me know down below. But once you get down low, it seems like they're okay, and they'll sometimes come within a couple feet of you as long as you're not moving too much. That's what my strategy is. It is a big beach though, and if there's predators that are chasing them around, that'll definitely make it more difficult. But I'm gonna try to pick a spot that looks good, wait around, and as the tide comes up, I'm hoping the shorebirds are gonna make their way to me. Stay tuned, we'll see if this actually works.
It turns out there wasn't one, but 4 peregrine falcons. Even though they were making it difficult for me to get close to the shorebirds, I do have to thank them for one thing. When they'd start hunting, it's the only time that all the shorebirds would take off together, and being able to see thousands of them moving in unison was absolutely mesmerizing. I often get asked how I decide between taking a photo or taking a video. This is a prime example where photos just didn't do the moment justice. Between the synchronized movements and sheer numbers of shorebirds present, I figured it made more sense to take videos over the first 2 days. After spending a few days on the mainland, we decided to visit some of the nearby islands. We took our first ferry to bring us to Grand Manan Island and a second ferry to bring us to Whitehead Island. Along the way, we were able to do some birding on the sea and picked up a couple of lifers. It was quite exciting to touch down on Whitehead Island. This small island holds a little piece of history in the bird world. In the 1830s, John James Audubon visited this small island to collect herring gull specimens for his paintings. So being on the same island nearly 200 years later and observing the same species that he did felt very special. We stopped at this small marsh along the side of the road, and I didn't have much hope considering I only saw about a dozen shorebirds, but as high tide was nearing, I figured I might as well lay down and see if anything else would show up. And after about 20 minutes, I was met with hundreds of semi-palmated plovers and least sandpipers coming in to rest up and forage. As the morning went on, I started battling the sun and heat shimmer over the ground, especially over the rocks and the water, as you might be able to see in the background of some of these video clips. So I decided to turn my attention to a bed of pickleweed that was right next to me. The shorebirds were foraging throughout the bed, and the greens and the reds made for just a really nice pop of color that I couldn't pass up. After seeing so many shorebirds, I can only imagine how impressive the migration is when it's in full swing. This was a great little trip to kick off traveling again for the first time in a year and a half. Before I go, I'd just like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creatives. Their classes cover a ton of topics ranging from photography, videography, editing, lifestyle, freelancing, and so much more. If you're new to Adobe Lightroom Classic or you've been thinking of trying it, I recommend a class called Adobe Lightroom Classic, the complete photo editing course from import to export by Frank Minghella. This class is packed with information, and I really enjoyed how he takes the time to explain all the features in great detail, which ultimately helps in building a stronger foundation for learning this editing app. Classes just like this are divided into easy to follow lessons with no ads, so you can really just focus on learning. And right now, we're giving away free 1-month trials of Skillshare Premium memberships to the first 1,000 of my subscribers that join using the link below. So check it out, there's a bunch of amazing learning opportunities, and thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I'll see you in the next one. Happy birding.